Good morning and welcome to the Art Lewis Show. My name is Matt Felan. I'm the president and CEO at the Great Lakes Bay Region Alliance, and I have the privilege once again of filling in for Art, who's off today. It is Wednesday, September 14th, and we're going to talk about regionalism again today. We're going to talk about many different facets of the Great Lakes Bay region. We're going to hear from Heather Gallegos with Dow in the next hour. We're going to hear from President Michael Gavin at Delta College and President Don Bachand at Saginaw Valley State University from 9:30 to 10:30. But we are going to start the day with my good friend, Great Lakes Bay Region Alliance board member, our past chair, a past tribal chief of the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe, and a current tribal council member, Frank Cloutier. Good morning, Frank.
Good morning, Matt. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So as we always talk about the Great Lakes Bay region, I think people automatically gravitate to counties, right? They think Bay County, Saginaw County, Midland County, the addition of Isabella County, and I think folks really get their focus around that. But the Great Lakes Bay region is actually 4 counties and a sovereign tribal nation with the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe. And as you think about that, I think you guys have been around longer than the counties.
Maybe a couple more, maybe a couple more years than most. That's for sure. It's, in our reach with our Aboriginal territory is from Oscoda down into Romulus and into central Michigan. So the Great Lakes Bay region is quite literally our home.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. So can you, for the listeners today, talk about where your properties are located, where your tribal lands are located here across the Great Lakes Bay region, and clearly extending, close by with Aranet County, and how big is your current population of tribal membership?
Oh, absolutely. The tribe itself has the District 1 reservation in Mount Pleasant, Michigan. And we're comprised of 3 different districts. Our District 2 is our Saginaw Satellite Reservation in Standish. And then we have District 3, which I represent. That's all members of the tribe that don't live on either of the reservations. So our current population is 3,470 souls strong. And we own properties in Isabella, Aranac, Iosco, Genesee, and Bay County to the tune of about 4,900 acres. Not a large landmass tribe. Not a large member count tribe, but pretty prowess in our own right.
Yeah, absolutely. And can you, as we talk about that, and you talk about, I think a lot of our listeners clearly very aware of Mount Pleasant, and the addition of the casino decades back really kind of changed the landscape of the region, and how folks really started traveling to Mount Pleasant so much more frequently to enjoy the casino. And as the years have gone on, all the various things that you've added have been just kind of amazing. But before we get into some of that, can you talk about, as being a tribal nation, maybe the level of services you provide for your citizens? Because you guys run pretty independently with a robust structure around the nation.
A lot of people don't realize, as a tribal nation, we're rather independent. We're self-reliant in a lot of ways. We don't have a tax base like a city or a township or another municipality would be. So we rely on economic development to fund our healthcare services, our elders care services, our education, our tribal college. A lot of people don't realize that the tribe actually has its own tribal college. We have an award-winning museum. These are all quality of life services that we provide to our membership that in a normal everyday community would be provided through tax dollars.
Yeah, I can tell you, through the years, as I've had the opportunity to visit more places, I've always been astounded at so many things that the tribe does, or just the simple going down M20. I'm like, hey, I don't recognize that cop behind me. Oh yeah, that's a tribal police officer rolling down. You guys just have so many different parts of government. You mentioned your museum and Zeeboing, and we've had the opportunity at the Great Lakes Bay Region Alliance to host several events there.
Absolutely.
It is a remarkable museum that really tells the history. Do you want to share a little bit about Zeeboing and how folks can come out and visit?
Yeah, absolutely. Zeeboing Cultural Center and Life Pathways has its own research and development department. We've got a phenomenal bookstore. We're open to the public 6 days a week. It's an opportunity for us to share our culture, Dubij telling our story. I always say it's series 1 because we're writing the rest of our story right now, and we'll continue on through the years. But it's a really good reflection of the culture of our people, where we came from, how we became a tribe, and what has gotten us to this point today. It's a very enriching experience. I know that every time I walk out of there, I take something new away. Because it's just so diverse and what it has to offer as far as our culture and our teachings and those traditional ways.
Yeah, I encourage, all school groups if possible to go there to learn about the culture. So much of our region, historically, in our cities and in our community sits on what were tribal lands. Uh, we have found this amazing way to really, I think, capture the culture of the Saginaw Chippewa Indian tribe and the rest of the Great Lakes Bay region. I think we're making ground every day. But I think those educational opportunities are so important for maybe folks that don't realize the vast history. Or I love what you said, that you're still writing your story. That's not a story that's done. That's a story that's continuing, and it's definitely a story that's showing some great success. So I'm going to pivot that way.
Absolutely.
You guys have had a phenomenal run. A lot of construction, a lot of various things going on. I can tell you, I've personally seen acts that you wouldn't expect to see in the Great Lakes Bay region. I saw Train in Maroon 5, and it wasn't in Metro Detroit or Chicago or somewhere else. It was in Mount Pleasant.
Yeah.
Can you talk about how you've really developed the casino property into just really one of the state's best entertainment destinations?
Well, it takes two very important things. Number one, you need an incredible staff. And we've got some of the largest numbers when it comes to longevity in our staff for a number of reasons. And it takes a very committed, focused patron as well. And we have that. Being centrally located, we have such an opportunity to draw from so many different areas. And the Great Lakes Bay region is our market. It is our market share. And we've proven that we can bring 13,000 people plus into a show and put a headliner in front of them that they would normally have to travel out of the region for. And that's something that we want to grow and develop. We've, Kid Rock spent 2 days with us not so long ago, and we've got Ringo Starr coming in. Those are some of the names you wouldn't hear of 10, 15 years ago in the Mount Pleasant area or in the Great Lakes Bay region, but they're here. And they're enjoying the shows. They want to come back. They're repeating their performances, and we're selling them out quick. So that's a testament to how strong our region is.
I always remind people that it's one of my jobs, right? You don't have to leave this region to see world-class entertainment. And I think
Absolutely
the region as a whole does a tremendous job, whether it's in Bay City, down on the riverfront with concerts that they've been holding, in Saginaw at now what's the Jolt Event Park and the Temple Theater, Midland Center for the Arts, what they do over with the Loons, but really having Soaring Eagle and the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe as that venue that can host these large events like Kid Rock, that can host these large concerts. It's so important to our region that folks can spend a day here, keep our money here in our restaurants, at our bars, at our gas stations, and really enjoy that entertainment local. It is just a phenomenal thing for all involved, Frank.
No, it is. We create a very eclectic offering here in the Great Lakes Bay region because of the diversity and what we have to offer. And we want nothing more than to keep that going, keep the market robust and healthy, and just move forward.
Well, we are going to take a quick commercial break, but we will be back with Frank Cloutier from the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe. Good morning once again, and welcome back to the Art Lewis Show. I'm Matt Felan with the Great Lakes Bay Region Alliance, filling in for Art today. And I'm here with my good friend and Great Lakes Bay Region Alliance board member, Frank Cloutier with the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe, talking really about the impact of the tribe here to our region. And one area we did not talk about was really how the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe has been a generous partner and a true community partner through your 2% funding program. Frank, can you explain what the 2% funding program is and how the tribe has really helped various community entities?
Well, absolutely. To date, the tribe, since the inception of Class 3 gaming in the early 90s, has shared well over $250 million with local units of government and public schools. That was by design in our compact with the state of Michigan. 2% of our net revenues are shared with those local units of government and public schools to kind of alleviate the footprint from our success. With that, we've built bridges, we've bought ambulances, we've funded fire trucks, textbooks, gymnasium equipment, technology, all these Chromebooks and stuff that the kids are remote learning on. A lot of those pieces of equipment in Isabella and Aranet County in Northern Bay come directly from those tribal dollars. We understand the need to share. If it wasn't for patrons and if it wasn't for winners and losers, we wouldn't have a business. So we wanted to make sure that we had an opportunity to give back to the community, and we have made a measurable impact. It's been a really healthy outcome.
Yeah, Frank, and I know that through the years that was really benefiting heavily around Isabella County with your first properties there. But as you've expanded now into Saginaw up in Aranet County and Standish, that's given you the opportunity to help in those communities as well, Northern Bay, Aranet County, and give 2% funding back to those communities as well, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Really quick story. For years, I was assisting their tribal leadership in the decisions they were making and awarding these funds. And I saw all the benefit going out to these schools and these townships and stuff in and around Isabella County. And I live in Northern Bay County. I'm just down the tracks from our Saginaw property. And I said, it would be really nice one day if we could do this in my hometown. That became a reality in 2008. And we were absolutely amazed by what we were able to accomplish in such a short time and start sharing those revenues with the local units of government. The property we have in Saginaw is, it's a bit of a godsend given everything that we've been through and in these economic times. It's been a steady, viable staple for our tribal community.
Yeah, and I think a lot of folks at first were like, "Wow!" I mean, the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe is building another property up in Standish, and they seem so close together. But from everything I've seen when I've been up there, it seems like you guys are doing phenomenal business. What was the thought process behind expanding into Standish? Why did you feel like you needed another facility in a relatively close proximity? And I give you guys credit. Why did you have the confidence that it was going to be successful, considering that you yourselves were the closest competition in Mount Pleasant?
Well, when you look at the market from Detroit to the bridge, there isn't anything in the Sunrise side of the state. But then we had our reservation sitting right on the shores of Wigwam Bay. And we thought, well, that makes sense. It's trust land. The Indian Gaming Regulatory Act requires that you put your Class 3 gaming property on trust land that was in trust prior to the Gaming Act. So it was a natural fit for us. It's part and parcel of our reservation. So we felt an obligation to spur some economic development there so we could grow that portion of our Aboriginal territory, all by design. And it's proven best for us right now, and it's proven to be fantastic for the region. We're the largest employer in Aranet and Isabella County for a reason. We have a solid patron base who are loyal, and our associates are fantastic individuals to work with.
Well, I give you credit because one of the things that I always try to contend is that living in the Great Lakes Bay region is such a great advantage because we're in the middle of all the great things that happen in the state.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that we have so many great things to do, we can get down to Detroit in an hour and a half, 2 hours, and enjoy everything you can down there. At the same point, we can get up to Traverse City, Petoskey, and the bridge now. And with those 80-mile-an-hour speed limits, we can go flying up north. So from our central location, we can really enjoy every part of the state. But what I love that you're doing And this is where I think we have a big opportunity in this region. And I know Annie Rummel at the Convention and Visitors Bureau and her team are working on it diligently. The Mount Pleasant CVB is so many people from Metro Detroit jump on I-75 or they jump on 127 and they head north. And we, I think, have an opportunity to give people more of a reason to get out of their cars on the way and to come into Bay City or Frankenmuth or Saginaw or Midland or the casinos. And I think you've done that, where folks that are heading up north from Metro Detroit are stopping on 75, and they've done it historically on 127 to Mount Pleasant, but now they're stopping in our region because they're like, hey, we can hit the casino on the way up north, or we're going to leave a little bit earlier. And I think you guys have done a great job of really capturing a lot of those Southeast Michigan dollars.
You have a very good point there, because, we used to be that pass-through area, the gateway to the north, as we were referred to. Now we're part of that destination plan. And people who tend to stop tend to stay, and when they stay, they're spending more money. So economically, it's very healthy for our region. We just signed a large sponsorship agreement with the Lions down in Detroit and Ford Field. We have a very healthy presence there because we understand a lot of those metro people are coming up and they're spending time, and we're their destination choice, whether it be Isabella, the Soaring Eagle, or Saginaw Eagles Landing in Saginaw, Michigan. So it's working out to our benefit.
That's great. And speaking of working out to your benefit, if I'm not mistaken, you have a new product. It's your sports betting app, Eagle Casino and Sports. When did the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe launch that?
We launched that a few months ago. We've got a really nice environment at the Soaring Eagle. It's called the Ascend Sportsbook. It's got fantastic food. There's more than ample seating. It's a large auditorium type venue with large screens. So we get some fantastic entertainment in there. You can come sit down at a table, enjoy the fights, bet on a baseball game, and just enjoy your time with us. We've got the Creekside Lounge in Saginaw, where we have betting kiosks there for folks who want to online bet. And you don't have to just go to the brick and mortar. Just go to www.sagchip.com, click onto our website, and you can upload our gaming app right there. Although we love to see you in person, sometimes we understand you don't have time. So we've made it a little easier for you to enjoy what we have to offer.
Yeah, that's just another great example of so often we see dollars go out, right? And as sports betting online has become a bigger business across the country, and definitely here in Michigan, so many of these companies and apps, they're not based here, right? I don't care. We'll leave the names out of it, but all these companies, they're not local. They're not here. They're not giving back funding.
No.
It's great for, I think, folks to realize that, hey, if that's something you do enjoy responsibly, of course, everyone, if you responsibly like to bet in an occasional game, that you can do it right here through the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe and your new platform. And like you said, even better, go and enjoy a game in person and enjoy that atmosphere, which these are great additions here for the region.
Have time, make time, have fun, do it safe, and do it with us, because it benefits everyone.
I love it. So we have about one more minute, Frank.
Sure.
What are some of the big shows that you guys have upcoming in Mount Pleasant, and how can our listeners snatch up some tickets to come over to Soaring Eagle?
Well, our Soaring Eagle box office is open 24/7, and you can buy tickets in Mount Pleasant. You can buy tickets in Standish at the Saginaw Eagles Landing. You can go onto our website and buy your tickets there. We have so many different things coming. Babyface is coming. We have Christopher Cross coming with John Waite, Loverboy and Night Rangers coming. And for Christmas, we're going to kick off December with a Johnny Mathis Christmas program. I believe that's December 3rd. So look to our website, look to what we have to offer, and just click and buy. We'll take care of the rest. We'd love to have you, and it's always a lot of fun. We've got lots of room, fantastic entertainment, and top-notch service.
Well, I got to tell you, I was looking at the list, and you have a young newcomer, Ringo Starr, a guy, he's just hoping to make it big right now. I think it's amazing that Ringo's coming to Soaring Eagle, and a phenomenal slate of shows. Well, Frank, we really appreciate you having you on the Art Lewis show today with me. Appreciate all that's happening at the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe, and appreciate all of your community support.
we do it together. Thank you.
And we are going to take a quick commercial break, and we will be back on the Art Lewis Show. Good morning and welcome back to the Art Lewis Show. My name's Matt Felan, President and CEO of the Great Lakes Bay Region Alliance, and once again have the privilege of serving as a guest host for Art, who's out today. This next hour, between now and about 10:30, we have two special guests that are with us today. We have Michael Gavin, the president of Delta College, and Don Bachand, the president of Saginaw Valley State University, with us today. And we're really going to be talking about higher education and talent and workforce. over the course of the next hour. I'm just going to start by saying I probably would not be here today, literally, if it were not for Delta College and at the time Saginaw Valley State College. My dad attended Delta and was in the broadcasting program, and he was the voice of Delta College. And while he was there, he met a young lady who was a student at Saginaw Valley State College, and they somehow fell in love and had a child, and that's how you guys have all had to put up with me for roughly the last 48 years. But by saying that, you have no idea how much Delta and SVSU really mean to me, because I personally truly wouldn't be here. So it's great to have you both. We're really trying to talk about a lot of the things that are going on across the Great Lakes Bay region and regionalism. And there's probably no better start when we think about regionalism. There's people realize there's been some major projects. I think folks think the airport right away, MBS airport, and what was Tri-City Airport was and still is a great regional project. But the region realized that higher education was a massive priority, and that we needed to have institutions right here if this region was going to grow and thrive. And kind of the brainchilds were at the same time. But Michael, we're going to start with you. Can you talk to us just about the history of Delta College and when it was established and how long you've been here now, and kind of those beginning days?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for the question, Matt. So happy to be here. Delta College began exactly how you just described. There was a recognition of the fact that there needed to be a 2-year institution that focused especially on the workforce in about 1961. And the notion came about by the 3 counties that we serve generally, which is Midland, Saginaw, Bay County, excuse me. And the actual name Delta comes from the fact that it is serving those 3 counties specifically. And that it began as a smaller college called Bay City Community College, and then turned into Delta College. We have a history, obviously, in partnership with SVSU, where the incubator and the concepts of that also came from Delta, and have therefore obviously been lockstep in partnership with ensuring that we are educating the citizens of these areas for the betterment of not just the region, but Michigan in general.
So you're doing my segues perfectly for me. I give people a lot of credit because, a lot of times someone has an idea and like, oh, we're going to start this community college, and the 4-year university comes years later. But I give folks credit. They kind of knew at the exact same time, hey, going to be great to have a 2-year institution here, but we also need a 4-year. Same question for you, Don. Can you talk about really the origins of Saginaw Valley State College at the time? And, what did those beginning days look like?
Well, I wasn't around for the beginning days, but I'm told that the origins come from the basement to the lower level of Delta College, where then President Sam Marble generated this idea for the 4-year school. So that was back in 1963. So that's those are the origins. The origins come from a relationship with Delta, and we've had tremendous partnerships and served collectively this community well since that particular period of time.
Well, I will let everyone know that you weren't there on day one, contrary to popular demand, that you haven't been around quite that long.
I was somewhere, but I wasn't there.
I think you were in another spot, maybe in Detroit. So, and then can you talk about, when did SVSC make that leap from being the college to a university?
Well, it's kind of it was in the 80s. When I came to SVSU in 1978, it was, I don't know, was it SVC? Then it became
SVSC.
Then SVSC, and then woke up one morning, it was SVSU. But it's been, for most of the employees there these days, it's always been SVSU to them. But that transition took place over a number of years. But when I came in 78, it was primarily a commuter school. I taught 3 or 4 nights a week because all the students studying criminal justice at the time were working professionals, either in the prisons or the courts or the police departments. And so the transformation to being a residential college came over a long period of time. We had like 300 or 400 students that lived in the dorms in the center of campus, and I've got 2,800 students who live there full time, and in the most modern dorms in higher education, primarily because they're built in recent times,
Well, Don, we're going to get back to that after the break. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to dive in further with Michael Gavin from Delta and Don Bachand from SVSU. Good morning and welcome back to the Art Lewis Show. This is Matt Felan with the Great Lakes Bay Region Alliance filling in for Art today. And I'm with our current guests from SVSU, Don Bachand and Michael Gavin from Delta College. So, we talked about the history, and I think the listeners have a better idea of just kind of when and how it started. But can you talk about how important it is and what the partnership of having a community college and a four-year university so close to one another, right in the heart of the Great Lakes Bay region, what does that really mean for students and families here in our community? Mike, I'll start with you.
I think it means, well, for lack of a better way to put it, everything. So we've got both of us have missions of ensuring that we're serving the entire region in terms of education. And as we have seen over the number of decades that we've been, especially Don, just kidding, Don, in higher ed. But the ability for students to stay closer to home and be educated and get a bachelor's degree and or an associate's degree by going back and forth between the institutions on their journey, as well as transferring to SVSU from Delta. Often offers, there's some statistics out that say today, $3 million over a lifetime if you get a bachelor's degree, $1.5 million if you get an associate's degree. So getting rid of some of the barriers regarding transportation, food, etc., that through allowing them to stay in this area and be educated near mom, dad, or whoever's watching out for the student is primarily important. And we also, obviously serve in the region to be such a workforce engine, if you will, together. And so it's not just for the students, but it's for the region by association. And so our partnership, especially in terms of how we work to keep our tuition at minimum, but the quality high, and I mean our in terms of SVSU and Delta, is significantly important for those reasons.
Yeah, and Don, for you, I think maybe some folks may think, oh, look, Delta and SVSU, they must be fierce competitors. And I'm sure you do compete for some first-year students, but at the same time, you find that Delta is just a phenomenal feeder program for SVSU, correct?
Well, I think Mike's right on. I mean, the advantage of Delta and SVSU in this region is the overall quality of both places. I mean, Delta has a long-standing history of being very fine, academically oriented academic institution. So you want to recruit students for the third and fourth year that come from an institution where they're academically well prepared, and they've done this consistently for a long time. So the regional benefits to the young people and the middle-aged people and the older people earning degrees in this region is they have two really good choices, broad range of programs and very high quality education that produces great results for the graduates.
Yeah, and I just want to throw in, it's great to have both of you here, but I think a lot of folks don't realize that the Great Lakes Bay region is really a home to vast higher education opportunities, because we have Northwood University and Mid-Michigan College. Our friend Frank Cloutier was just here. There's a tribal college, Mid-Michigan College, Michigan State with the supply chain program. Mm-hmm. In essence, there's about 50,000 college students here in this region at all times, and you two have definitely served as longtime anchors. Can you talk really about, do you think that our region views itself as a college region, or do we have opportunities to do better? Do we think of ourselves, Saginaw, that's a college town, just like East Lansing or Ann Arbor, Bay City, Midland? Do we think about ourselves that way, and should we start thinking about ourselves much more in that manner?
So I'll start with that. I think from a community college perspective that we do. There's probably a whole slew of ways of answering that question from a 4-year in a different way, but I've said this now for about 6 months. This is my first full year that I've just completed. I haven't been in a location that takes higher education so seriously before in my career. I've walked into many different areas, whether it's an institution that's focused on work, like a healthcare provider, to a Dow, to transfer institutions. And I don't have to sell the fact that higher ed and Delta College is quality and necessary. What I do think a pivot point could be, in terms of answering your question too, Matt, is that the notion of completing an associate's degree is fundamentally important before transferring and or before leaving community college, because we see our students being snapped up by auto mechanics, et cetera, before they complete the degree. And if a student has life happen to them and they don't complete their credential, the statistics that I mentioned earlier, about $1.5 million over a lifetime, they're gone. So that I would suggest that from a community college point of view, it's being more of a college town, more of a completion oriented town, or area region would be much more helpful in terms of thinking about the way that the nuances have changed in the workforce. But I couldn't say more about how seriously higher ed is taken from a community college lens in this region.
And Don, one thing that we definitely notice is that SVSU does a great job of just not servicing students that are originally from this area, but you're bringing students in literally from across the world right now. And a lot of the diversity that we see in this community, is because of students that are attending SVSU. Do you think our communities are welcoming and serving them as a college town the way that we need to, or do we have an opportunity to even do better?
Well, I'll give you an example. Prior to COVID, we had about 1,000 international students from all over the world attend SVSU, and a significant proportion of them study engineering, computer science, healthcare. And to respond to your question, I'll give you an example of one young man that I met about 6 years ago, Imran Khan from Bangladesh, first generation college student, studied computer science, worked in our computer operations lab for years. Got a big job after he graduated, moved to Metro Detroit. From there, he went to down to Ohio, got into a management position, and was allowed to work remotely. He's a technical guy, works remotely. Where did he move to? He had Detroit, he had Ohio. He came back to Saginaw. He lives right down the street from the university, and the reason he does that is he had such a great experience as a student living here that when he could go anywhere in the world to do his job, and he chose Saginaw Township. So that kind of gives you an indication of what this region does for people. I mean, people come here who aren't from here and feel welcome, feel supported. It's a great cost of living, great quality of life, and this is where they want to be.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, but this year in August, especially, if you were out and about and you were at those box stores, at the Targets, at different places, they were just full of college students, and you could feel it. And I said to my wife, I said, I feel like we're in East Lansing right now. It just has such a good vibe with all the students returning. You could just feel the energy. So we're looking forward. We're going to continue this discussion at the start of the next hour with Mike Gavin from Delta and Don Bachand from Saginaw Valley State University after these messages. That wraps up this hour of the Art Lewis Show. Once again, I'm Matt Felan in for Art today. I want to thank my good friend Frank Cloutier with the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe for joining us. Good morning and welcome to the second hour of the Art Lewis Show. This is not Art. This is Matt Felan, President and CEO of the Great Lakes Bay Region Alliance, filling in for Art today. And I'm continuing my session here with SVSU President Don Bachand and Delta College President Michael Gavin. And what I love about having the two of you on is you're kind of heading in different directions here at this point. Don, you've been at SVSU. You're new in town. You're just getting your feet after 45 years, but retiring after your tenure as SVSU. And then we have Michael Gavin, who, you're still the new guy in town, right? Still within year one. So it's kind of great to see just maybe two different points of view and perspective from this point in your career. But what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about programming. And Michael, I think we as parents often hear about dual enrollment, and we know that that's an option for our students in high school. And I think a lot of us sometimes go, wait a minute, we already have enough going on. Now we have to dual enroll and take college courses as well. Can you talk about dual enrollment through Delta College and how that program works and how parents that are listening or grandparents can tell their grandkids how they may be able to dual enroll?
Yeah, actually, dual enrollment is a great deal for both parents and the children in high school. So it's fancy moniker to just mean a student takes a class while in high school that gives them both credit for a high school and college class. Here are some of the benefits of it, though. Is first of all, often it's free, so you're gaining your college credit tuition free. And second of all, if one is thinking about the balance between an AP class versus a dual enrollment class, the dual enrollment class is guaranteed college credit if you pass. Whereas if you pass an AP class, you still got to take a test, and ones may have to have a certain score at different colleges, and it may be a one score at University of Michigan, another at Michigan State, as an example. But dual credit, it's on your transcript. It's credit in the bank. Two things that we've done at Delta that we're really excited about in the last year is to set up what we've called the Saginaw Academy of Excellence that is at our Saginaw Center. And we have a cohort of students who will complete 36 credits of college before they graduate high school, and allow them probably to get an associate's degree within 1 year of passing, 1 year of graduating. And it's different than our early middle college in that it's a cohort. It's direct line into an associate's degree. And it is, to your point, Matt, it's created in such a way that the students are at the Saginaw Center Monday through Thursday, and they're getting both their high school and their college credit at the same time. So you don't have the running back and forth between two institutions at the same time. We're looking to replicate that in different areas, but it's to bottom line it, free, guaranteed credit. I like to say that whereas AP is like taking a college class, dual enrollment is taking a college class. And so there's a real good mindset shift that might want to be taken, and especially if you're a parent worried about tuition for college for your student in the future.
No, that is a great program and great point that you're making. I have a son who's taking AP US history, and we had that discussion. He was like, oh, I'm going to get that college credit. I'm like, not necessarily. You're going to have to do well on that test. And what I hear from a lot of people is they'll have their children take that AP test, and then the test doesn't go well, and then they end up dual enrolling for the same course to get that college credit after the fact. So and any time that parents hear college credits and you're getting them for free, I mean that's a remarkable opportunity that probably not enough families are probably taking advantage of, are they?
I would say no. So we are seeing that we need to do a little bit better of a job about educating parents on the value, as I'm trying to do right now. But even as I use that word value, and you look at the whole discourse outside of this room we're sitting in right now about the value of higher ed, whether it's worth the return on investment, you're getting this for free. So the concept here is simply that we are offering the track to a better life for free. The only investment that we're taking is time from students who have to sit in a classroom anyway. So I think that people aren't taking advantage of it in the way that we would hope all the time, though we are seeing a significant increase in Delta. We had a 10% increase in dual enrollment students this past year. I think part of it is just the nomenclature is confusing, right? Like, what is dual enrollment? What is AP? Like we could demystify college a little bit for parents, and we're trying to work on that. But I totally agree.
Sure. And Don, SVSU, I see that you guys have some new offerings right now in computer engineering, Black studies, and sustainability. Can you talk about some of those new offerings and why SVSU is making these available to students?
Well, the demand for computer engineering is very high in this region and across the country. And we already had electrical, mechanical, engineering programs have been well established, and the graduates have produced very fine results. So the computer engineering was a natural transformation of existing programs. Sustainability is big with every corporation these days, especially Dow, DuPont, Hemlock. We have a strong history of sciences at SVSU. That's kind of been the foundation of our curriculum, has been hard science, influenced by our relationship with Dow during the formative years of the university. So the sustainability program has been in development, and it's a natural progression for us. And a lot of interest in environmental science and sustainability at SVSU.
Well, Don, whenever you talk about anything in STEM, you definitely get my attention, as we know how important STEM has been across the region. Is this a reflection of, in your opinion, in hearing from students on what they want to study, or is this more a reflection hearing from employers in terms of where the jobs are and what talent they need and where opportunities are for kids? So when they graduate from your institution, that they can stay here and get a job.
Yeah.
Which direction is that going in?
But it goes in both directions. Like I say, we've had a strong history of solid foundation in hard sciences at SVSU, and these other offerings are just a natural evolution of that curricular development, more in-depth application of scientific principles. But there's a huge demand. These companies are aggressively recruiting our students. Our biggest problem at SVSU is we're not producing enough graduates to fill the pipeline. Students young people in general have a lot of employment options these days, and staying in college and earning a degree has been kind of a deterrent to work for them. But we're working very hard to help our employers in the region fill their pipeline. But it's a very competitive process.
Sure. We're going to talk about sports a little bit in the next segment, as some great athletic programs, both Delta and SVSU. But we have about one more minute before our next commercial. Don, as we mentioned, you are retiring, and Michael's new here in his role. Don is someone who, as we mentioned, is relatively new in town and just getting your feet. What advice do you have for Michael Gavin as a new president here in the Great Lakes Bay region of an institution of higher education?
Well, Michael's going to be the senior president in this region in about 13 weeks. But what he's going to find, and I think he's already found it, the people in this region are absolutely spectacular. The businesses, the people, the values that the people around here have are just rock solid. You have to take advantage of that. These folks inspire you to do your very best to serve the region and to serve your students and to serve your community. And that's, I think Michael already sees that. I feel it in his tone and in our conversations that he's discovered that this is a very special place to work and earn a living and serve others.
Oh, that's outstanding. Well, we're going to be back shortly here with Mike Gavin and Don Bachand, but first, these messages. Welcome back to the Art Lewis Show. This is Matt Felan, CEO of the Great Lakes Bay Region Alliance, filling in for Art today. And one last segment here with Don Bachand and Michael Gavin. And let's talk about one of my favorite things, which is sports. Delta and SVSU have proud sports traditions. And Mike, we're going to start with you. I know that you have a new volleyball program and a very well and highly regarded women's soccer team, and both men's and women's basketball teams this winter. You want to talk about those? And I think even more importantly, how can those listening today come out and enjoy these games?
Well, let me start with the teams. So we have, as you said, really well-regarded teams. Women's soccer, number 1 in the nation 3 years ago, number 2 2 years ago, number 2 last year, and rated number 2 this year. So, and we have many returning student athletes this year from the last 2 years. And we're looking forward to actually being number 1 in the nation is what we're aiming for. So really looking forward to that. Our volleyball team, our new volleyball team started its season 2 weeks ago, looking really good. And that added obviously a whole new fan base and student group of people coming on campus. And to your point, both our men's and women's basketball teams have traditionally been really, really excellent. And I'm hoping to see that happen again this year. We post our schedules for all events online. Generally they're on weekdays and weekends, but not on Sundays, obviously. And admission is generally about $5 to get in, but we welcome anybody who wants to come see our athletes and students play. It's a pretty high competition. I'm really excited. Actually, one of the things I'm really grateful about is I walked into this job not recognizing how awesome the athletics program was at Delta. And so like you, Matt, I'm a huge sports fan, and I'm really excited to always see the student athletes getting ready to play and really good, vibrant culture in terms of athletics at Delta.
Fantastic. And speaking of great sports teams, Don, I see the SVSU football team now ranked number 23 in the country. Started with a couple very big wins, including this past week over Bowie State, a perennial power in Division II. Looks like you guys are lined up to have one heck of a year, and the conference is loaded. I believe with Ferris State number 1 in the country and Grand Valley number 3. And this Saturday, there's a huge event here in the region, Axe Bowl, SVSU at Northwood. Talk to us a little bit about that football team, because I know you're excited about it.
Well, the team's good, and more exciting is, I've met with all these young men. They're nice young men, good college students, good citizens of the campus who happen to be enormously talented and well coached. So, we've got a long history of competitive athletics at SVSU, and I'm really pleased to report that many of these young people are on academic scholarships, not athletic scholarships, but they get their tuition reduced because they're high achieving student athletes. So it's 500 of our students participate at Division II athletics, which is a very competitive level of athletics for those of us that hang around sports a little bit. So it's fun to watch, and it's fun to be around.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Don, you talk about that. I think maybe sometimes people don't really understand the level of play, quite honestly, at both schools. But at SVSU, you have a great history of putting players into the NFL. And if I'm not mistaken, I think last year's Mr. Basketball is enrolled at SVSU to play on the team here this year.
As a freshman. And a lot of people have heard of a fellow named Matt LaFleur. He's the head coach of the Green Bay Packers. Back in the day, he was starting quarterback at SVSU for 3 years. So, you're talking about 12, 13, 14 NFL players coming out of our program at Division II over the years. Some pretty notable athletes. So these very competitive sports.
And Don, we have about a minute left here before we transition over to our next guest. But how can people come out and enjoy these games? Because I think it's one of those opportunities that maybe people aren't fully taking advantage of. And we want more people here from the Great Lakes Bay region out to these games. The atmosphere at SVSU is electric. What do they need to do to get tickets? How do they go to these games? What would you have to say to get people to come out and watch these outstanding student athletes?
Well, they're very inexpensive tickets, the accommodations, the fields. It's spectacular. Just go to our website, punch in the sport that you're interested in. Volleyball is great to watch. Basketball, men's and women's, they play at such a high level. Football, soccer, men's and women's soccer, and we're just starting lacrosse, women's lacrosse for the first time next year. So all of these events are accessible to anybody in the region. And I know they have a great experience if they come out and visit us.
Well, Mike, Don, it was great to have you on here this morning here on the Art Lewis Show. Great to see our champions from Delta and SVSU. And as a transition, what you guys are doing is to prepare our employees here in the Great Lakes Bay region for their jobs. And so we're now going to be joined by Heather Gallegos from Dow. It's as we continue kind of our conversation here this morning on regionalism, it's fantastic to talk about the talent that's in the region from Delta and SVSU, but we definitely don't educate for altruistic reasons. Our number one goal here in the Great Lakes Bay region from our higher education institutions is honestly to make sure that our employers have the talent that they need to be successful companies, to grow and to prosper. And, it's hard to talk about the Great Lakes Bay region economy and jobs and our future without talking about Dow. So we are now joined by Heather Gallegos, who is a Great Lakes Bay Regional Alliance board member, vice chair. If you know Heather and you say, here's this board or that board, she has probably served on it at one point or another throughout the Great Lakes Bay region, works in community affairs at Dow. It is great to have you here today, Heather. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Matt. It's a pleasure to be here with you. I would just like to say, as I start off, I am a proud alumna of both Delta College and Saginaw Valley. So when you talk about educating our future workforce, I am that story. I received an excellent education at Essexville Garber, and before that at our local Catholic schools. And I was well prepared to go on to school at both Delta and Saginaw Valley, and had so many great opportunities, and had faculty and staff that really cared and poured themselves into me. And that's how I got to be where I am today. So I just wanted to make a plug because you were talking about talent, and I'm that story.
That is that story, which we
is.
love to hear. So
Yeah.
Dow,
Yeah.
right now when we hear Dow, 125.
125 years old.
It's an anniversary year. So can you just briefly talk about the history of Dow?
Sure.
Remind our listeners,
Yeah.
why did Herbert H. Dow come up from Cleveland, and how did the company start, and just how did we end up here in Midland and the Great Lakes Bay region?
Yeah. Well, why would he have not come here, first of all, right? This is the place to be. Herbert Henry Dow came to the Great Lakes Bay region, Midland specifically, in 1897 because I don't know if a lot of our listeners know, we sit on a reserve of prehistoric brine, and brine was the raw material that he needed to make chlorine and other products. So that is why he came here, because the raw material he needed was in plentiful supply. He came here and he stayed here. We think about the Great Lakes Bay region. We often talk about our lumbering past, and we are so fortunate that we had those great leaders who did that. But a lot of them went back to where they were from. And H.H. Dow, he was from Ohio. He didn't go back. He stayed. He raised his family here. His children raised their families here, and they've been very involved in the Great Lakes Bay region. So I think we're very fortunate to have had a leader, a visionary with that mindset, who is really involved in philanthropy. The Herbert H. and Gracie Dow Foundation, founded by his wife, that legacy of really giving back to the region. And you see that a lot too in our company and how we do volunteerism and our philanthropic giving. We want to be a good citizen and actively involved in the region. So that's why he came here, is because the raw material was here, but he chose to stay here and invest here. And I think that's a transition for our region that you didn't see in every part of the country.
And we started this. We talked 125 years.
Yeah.
This year's the 125th
Yes.
anniversary. What does that mean for Dow? What are you doing around the 125th anniversary?
So we've really couched it around imagining better. Dow is a material science company. And so that means that we innovate with our customers, our partners, to make sustainable, innovative solutions that address not only the world's most pressing challenges, but also everyday solutions that we need in a most sustainable way. So as we look about 125 years, we've been innovating throughout that 125 years, right? Herbert had very clear ideas about innovating and moving forward. And so we continue to do that today. Our ambition statement is very clear: to be the most innovative, customer-centric, inclusive, and sustainable material science company in the world. And we do that by using our expertise in engineering and chemistry and science, and partnering with our partners, whether that be customers or industry, academia. Oh, you're gonna.
Yep, I was just going to
Is that
jump
me?
in. We want to talk about that material sciences
Right.
piece, but we're going to take a quick break,
Okay.
and we'll be right back with Heather Gallegos with Dow. Welcome back to the Art Lewis Show. This is Matt Felan with the Great Lakes Bay Regional Alliance, and I'm currently talking to Heather Gallegos from Dow. Heather serves as Director of Communications and Community Relations for North America North at Dow. And you were just mentioning that Dow today is a material sciences company. I think it'd be helpful for the listeners. What business segments then does Dow operate in as a material sciences company?
So we operate in a lot of segments that I think the listeners probably wouldn't even realize. But the main ones are packaging and specialty films, plastics, automotive, silicones that go into a lot of personal and consumer care. We have industrial solutions as well. That would be more like your solvents and your cleansers. Did I say automotive as well? So we touch so many different aspects of your life every single day. One of my favorite examples is like when you wash your hair in the morning, I don't think anybody really stops to think about, oh, what's in this bottle of shampoo? But without silicones, that shampoo does not glide through your hair. And my daughter, Gabriella, she has very naturally curly hair. We need a lot of silicones to go through that hair. So we're in so many different things.
So as you talk about that, I think that's actually great for our listeners because
Yeah.
Dow has gone through, and the region has gone through some pretty big transitions over the course of the last several years.
Yep.
Dow Corning was absorbed by Dow
Yep.
as Corning left that partnership, the Corning Corporation in New York, and now all of Silicones today from Dow Corning are
Mhm.
part of this new Dow. And then there was the Dow Dupont marriage, which
Yes.
I always joke about was like the movie The Proposal. Everybody knew this was a divorce going in. It was
Yes.
a short term play to really get the companies to stop competing against each other in every segment
Mhm.
line and create the what they thought at the start would be two companies, but turned into three.
3.
Yeah, with DuPont and Corteva, and now we
Corteva.
have this different presence here in the Great Lakes Bay region. Can you talk about what just that means here for the region? Kind of that new face of Dow with Dow Corning now as part of the company and having these other spinoffs as well.
Yeah. Dow Corning was a great asset to bring back into the company because that was a joint venture. And so, I mean, they were part of us, but they weren't, right? They were not, we didn't run together at all. So bringing in their expertise and their people has been incredible, right? We have a whole new set of family members now in Team Dow than we did before. And they make some really unique products. And some of those products are only made here in the Great Lakes Bay region. They're kind of like the pixie dust or the special stuff that goes into different end use products that you use every day. So that was wonderful to bring them in. But it's also great for the Great Lakes Bay region that we are diversified because we now have a presence from DuPont. We have with their building and construction materials, they're here. Michigan operations, which since 1897 had been just Dow manufacturing on that site, is now an iPark or an industrial park. And it has several tenants on it that are world leaders in the products that they make. They now have a presence here in the Great Lakes Bay region. So that you mentioned DuPont and Corteva, but there's also International Flavors and Fragrances, Hemlock Semiconductor, we have Trinzio, and we have Cabot and Dow. So it's very diversified, which is good, right? We need to always be diversifying. So we have other players in the region. It's good to have more.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So before you joined us, Don Bachand
Yeah.
was talking about one of his new programs that they're offering at SVSU, which is in the sustainability realm.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of our listeners have heard, a lot more about sustainability and the circular economy and what that means. Dow is definitely stepped up to become a global leader in sustainability. Can you talk a little bit about Dow's commitment to sustainability in the region and quite frankly, as a global company across the world?
Yeah. Well, as I said before, right, we want to be a good corporate citizen because our people live here, right? We work, live, and play here, just like everyone else in the Great Lakes Bay region. And being a sustainable company is the right thing to do, right? When you are making plastics, it's good to look at what is the lifespan and how can we get to a lifespan that can always be recycled and reused, right? Not just a one-time use plastic, because we're seeing the effects of that across the world. And we don't want to continue to add to that. We want to, again, be that solutions provider. So, and we do that in everything that we do. We look at all different ways to be sustainable, not just in plastics, but in our operations. How are we sustainable? We just last year announced a new cracker an ethylene cracker that will be built up in Canada in Fort Saskatchewan, and it will be a net zero manufacturing facility, which before that was unheard of. It's the first of its kind. So we are always looking. I'm always amazed because I'm in public affairs. I'm not a scientist, but our scientists and engineers, the problems that they are solving every day, It's incredible. And we also join alliances to push causes forward as well in sustainability, to raise awareness. So it's not just one facet where we look at sustainability, it's in everything that we do.
Yeah, I can tell you from my regular seat at the
Yeah.
Great Lakes Bay Regional Alliance, we have been thrilled to just act as a convener to bring other
Absolutely.
partners from across the region to join sustainability efforts, to really build a culture of STEM here in the Great Lakes Bay region. And your leadership is definitely helping us move that in the right direction. So we're going to be back again here in a few more minutes. We'd love to chat about your upcoming tennis classic and the Dow Great Lakes Bay Invitational here on the Art Lewis Show. Good morning and welcome back to the Art Lewis Show here for our final segment with Heather Gallegos from Dow. And I don't know, it just kind of worked out this way. These last segments, I love to talk about sports.
Oh, of
I
course you
just
do.
can't help myself. And Dow here in the Great Lakes Bay region has really gotten engaged on professional sports. And so we just finished it was the third in the last 4 years
Yes.
of the Dow Great Lakes Bay Invitational.
Yeah.
And an exciting announcement that's been extended for an additional 5 years through 2029 now.
I
Yeah.
know.
Can you talk to our listeners about why the Dow Great Lakes Invitational and how did we end up with an LPGA tournament right here in Midland?
I love the Great Lakes Bay Invitational because not only does it bring world-class golf talent, athletes into our region, but it also does so much for our community, right? There's a give back program called Team Up, and that's where players are partnered with local nonprofits. And we've given back, I don't have a total, but in the first year alone, 500,000 went back to local nonprofits just through that one program. We've partnered with others through sponsorships to give additional funding to like the Boys and Girls Club of the Great Lakes Bay region. So in my role in community relations, it's important to me that we are supporting those social networks that everyone needs at certain times in their lives. And so what we've done in the community, but also raising awareness for golf. And golf is a great way to teach children social skills, soft skills that are important when you're looking for your next job. So it's just been really good for the community. And it's also an inclusion point too, right? It's great to have PGA tournaments as well, nothing against the men, but to see these women athletes at the top of their game, I think that's such a great role model for our young girls and anyone in the Great Lakes Bay region. So it's been awesome having them here.
Yeah, so my good friend Art, we get to come out, and Art is a tee announcer at the first hole all 4 days. This past year, I got to be a tee announcer for one of the segments on the Thursday. And I'll tell you what really stuck out, Heather, is just not how great of golfers these women are. They're
Phenomenal.
unbelievable. They make me feel miserable about every aspect of my golf game when I watch every swing. But I'm so impressed at how personable they are, at how they love to interact with the people there, with kids there. The kindest women in the world just come over. Oh, how are you this morning? Thank you for tee announcing. I'm like, why are you talking to me? You're about to be on the Golf Channel and you got to take a swing here on hole 10. Like, stop talking to me. Get out there, Nelly Corda, and go hammer that ball down the fairway. But it's just been so impressive to meet these women in person. They represent themselves incredibly well
So
and the
well.
tour.
They're all so engaged, and many have their own foundations or do their own charitable work around the world. And so it must be something in the LPGA that they are just really instilling that giving back, because that's one of the things we hear consistently from the players. They love coming here because of all the give back and how they can get so involved in the community, get to know different people. Autograph Alley, those players will stay there and sign. They're handing out gloves, they're handing out balls, hats. Like, they are just great ambassadors for the sport, but also just great ambassadors as people and what they do in giving back. So yeah, we're really fortunate to have them here.
And you guys aren't done on the
We are
professional
not.
sports circuit here
Oh,
this
no.
year. You have the Dow Tennis Classic, who I think a lot of people remember as a Dow Corning sponsored event for
Correct.
years.
Yep.
But now that Dow Corning is, as we mentioned, part
Brought
of
it in.
Dow, you now have an event that's actually been around for much longer than the
30
Dow Great
plus
Lakes
years.
Invitational. Yeah. So can you tell us, when is the Dow Tennis Classic? And more importantly, how can people get their tickets and come out and watch these world-class women
Sure.
play at the highest level?
So you can clearly just search Dow Tennis Classic. We just kept the name because it was over 30 years that Dow Corning had sponsored this event, and it's just a really good event. Again, those players, they go out to schools, they make visits, they instill a love of sports into our kids here in the region, which is always good for a healthy lifestyle. The tournament this year is coming up on Halloween. It kicks off on October 31st and it runs through November 6th. And Saturday, it would be like the big day. One ticket will get you both the morning and the afternoon to watch the matches. So I believe you just search it online and you can go out and buy the tickets, but there still are tickets available. They went on sale a couple of weeks ago, but we get very excited about this. And it's also a great way to, like the GLBI, to get our employees involved. Volunteerism is a big deal at Dow. We actually just passed a policy where all of our employees get 12 hours of paid leave to go and volunteer in the community every calendar year. So you'll see a lot of our Dow employees out there at the tennis center volunteering to help with being line judges or ball return people, different things that they can get involved in.
Yeah, so you talk about your employees getting involved, and
Yeah.
your folks are phenomenal. But I don't know if there's quite as many people that get as involved in their community as you do, Heather. You definitely like to make a difference, and right now you're serving in one of those roles, correct? You're serving as this year's campaign co-chair for the United Way of Bay County, correct?
I am. Following in your footsteps. You and Megan Saman served last year, and now this year, Seth Perigo and I are serving. Seth is from Huntington Bank, and it's really an honor to do this. I am from Bay County. I'm from the Great Lakes Bay region, born and raised. On my dad's side, I'm sixth generation of my family here. I am committed to this region. And unfortunately, some of our neighbors and friends and family members need help. And the United Way is such a great resource to give to partner agencies where you know that the contribution you make is vetted and that there's metrics so that you know that those agencies are really making an impact. And as we come out of COVID, if we come out of COVID, right, or if we learn to live with it, there's a lot of people that are going to be hurting because there was a lot of money pumped in to the economy to help with utility shutoffs or rent. And those programs are going away. Even the free lunch for kids, that's going away. And so that extra money that people had, they're not going to have now. And it's going to hurt. And we know that that's coming. We've got some leading indicators. So we all need to give back. I'm a firm believer in the quote by John F. Kennedy, to whom much is given, much is expected in return. I think we can all do our part to give back. And we're really investing in those people that we care about, right? Because those that need that service, we need to have all of our United Ways here to provide the services that are needed.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because although you serve as the campaign chair for Bay County,
Right.
these campaigns are active in
All over.
Yep.
Yep.
So the United Way of Saginaw County, Midland County, Isabella County, our entire region
Yep.
is in campaign season.
They are.
And how can people get involved? So clearly people can write a direct contribution, a check,
Absolutely.
credit card, monthly, but isn't really kind of the magic behind this campaign getting employers engaged to
Exactly.
really lead and try to get their
Yeah.
employee base? How are we doing that across the region?
So just yesterday, Seth and I convened some of the largest employers in Bay County and sat down and did a business roundtable to talk about different ways to share best practices and what people can do to get their employees engaged and excited about giving back. I participate in United Way, and I have since I started at Dow because I saw my dad do it. My dad, when he worked at American Hoist and Derrick, they were able to make their weekly contribution right through their paycheck. And so when I went to my first United Way meeting at Dow and they talked about you can do payroll deduction, it just made sense, right? To do that, paying into the community that I want to see succeed. So you can do it through your employer. You can go out to any of our United Way websites in the region where you're based, where you live, and make a contribution that way. There's different events that go on. A lot are at your employer. Like we've done chili cook-offs, we've done auctions, parking spots. People love a close parking spot. So that's what we like.
Great. Well, Heather, thank you for all you do for the community. And
Thank
thank you
you.
so much for joining me today here on the Art Lewis. We're going to take one final break here. Well, this wraps up today's Art Lewis Show. Once again, I'm Matt Felan with the Great Lakes Bay Region Alliance, filling in for Art. I'd like to thank our guests. Coming up next, we'll have the Focus Program with Pat Johnston filling in for Art. He'll be focusing on McLaren Bay Region, but first, we'll go to CBS for the national and international news, followed by the local report from the WSGW newsroom.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Focus Show. Pat Johnston filling in for Art Lewis here today, as Art will return on Friday. Great to be back here hosting the show. And just want to thank Matt Felan for everything that he did here, filling in for Art during his show from 9 to 11 here today. All right. Well, today on the Focus program, we are going to talk with Stacy Saunders. She is the manager of rehabilitation services at McLaren Bay Region in West Branch, and we're going to talk about outpatient rehab here today. So, Stacy, thank you so very much for being on the show today.
Thank you for talking with me.
Hey, for those who are unfamiliar with your clinic, do you mind if we start out here by having you share a little bit of background about it?
Sure. We're located on the M76 Business Loop in West Branch. We have a beautiful new space there where Kmart was previously in West Branch. We've been providing therapy services to the community in this location since November of 2019. And we're currently providing outpatient physical therapy and occupational therapy services at that location. We also offer various specialty services in addition to the more traditional therapy services. And typically our hours of operation are Monday through Thursday from 7 to 5 and Friday from 8 to 5.
All right. I'll tell you what, before we talk a little bit more about the clinic, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your role at McLaren?
Yeah, I'm the manager of the outpatient rehab department at McLaren Bay Region in West Branch. I've been in this role at McLaren for nearly 3 years now. And I myself have been an occupational therapist by trade, and I have been an occupational therapist in the West Branch area for about 14 years.
Hey, before we move on, Stacy, do you mind if I just ask you what got you interested in becoming an occupational therapist? How did you get involved with it?
I've always wanted to be in the medical field, and I kind of landed into occupational therapy more or less. When I went to college, I was just trying to explore what I wanted to do. And I just really liked, being able to help people return to what they were doing previous to their injury or, something medically that had happened to them.
Yeah, gotcha. All right, very good. Well, what makes your outpatient therapy clinic stand out from the other therapy clinics in the West Branch area, would you say?
Yeah, we really pride ourselves on providing one-on-one individualized care to our patients. This means that we provide care to one patient at a time. We don't have multiple patients that we're seeing at one time. Each therapist is with one person. And that means we're face-to-face with them the entire session, 45 minutes to 60-minute sessions. We don't leave our patients. We communicate openly and frequently with our patients as well to make sure their goals for therapy are really being addressed.
All right. I'll tell you what, Stacy, we're going to take a quick break here, and then we'll continue talking here about outpatient rehab at McLaren Bay Region in West Branch. You are listening to the Focus Show. Pat Johnston in for Art Lewis here today. Back with more right after these quick words. 11:18 here at WSGW Focus Program. Pat Johnston in for Art Lewis here today. Coming up in a few minutes, the Farm Show with Terry and John coming up here in just a few. We're talking about outpatient rehabilitation with Stacy Saunders. She is the manager of rehabilitation services at McLaren Bay Region in West Branch. And so we were starting to get into this whole topic. And, Stacy, I was just wondering if you could tell us, some of the kinds of conditions that are treated at the McLaren outpatient rehabilitation. For sure. We treat patients of all ages. We see infants, children, adults, geriatric patients. We treat patients with various orthopedic conditions, meaning that you've had an injury to your hand or shoulder, or maybe your knee, your back, your hip. We also see post-surgical patients, orthopedic patients, and we see a lot of neurological conditions as well. So people that have had like a stroke or maybe a traumatic brain injury, people with autism or cerebral palsy or Parkinson's disease. And we also have a lot of specialty services at our clinic, which would include vestibular rehab for like vertigo and balance issues, lymphedema management for the upper and lower body. We do pediatric therapy with children. We have a program for Parkinson's disease called LSVT Big that helps with movement. We have a therapist that works on pelvic floor dysfunction and strengthening in that area. And we also have a therapist that does functional capacity evaluations, which would be for those people who are trying to go through that process of obtaining disability or returning back to work after an injury. Wow. All right. So that is a wide range, because I guess I was always thinking that it was something maybe just with, joints or hands, shoulders, hip, knees, something like that. But no, there's a lot more that goes on there.
There is. Yeah. We have a lot of specialty therapists and a lot of years of experience here in a lot of different areas.
Hey, Stacy, how does someone get started with therapy? I mean, they just can't show up, right?
No, the first thing you would want to do is go to your doctor or call your doctor and talk to them about therapy. And that patient would need to get a prescription from their doctor, either for physical or occupational therapy. Once they have that prescription, they can either bring it right into our West Branch location and we can connect them with the scheduling department, or they could have that prescription faxed by their doctor to our office. And usually we can get patients in for therapy within 3 to 5 business days, but we're always trying to get them in as soon as we can.
All right. Well, 3 to 5 business days. Okay. Well, that's not too bad.
No, it's usually pretty quick.
Yeah, right. Well, how long is someone typically? I mean, I know you gave us a wide range of things that you guys do for rehab, but how long is someone typically seen in therapy?
So people are usually seen 2 to 3 times a week, and their sessions are typically 45 to 60 minutes. The average person seems for maybe 4 to 8 weeks. However, that varies greatly from patient to patient. We base the frequency of those visits and the number of those visits on what the person needs. We don't send people away too soon, and we don't keep them longer than we need to.
Do our family members encouraged to also attend, or is this just something for that person alone?
We do have when there's needed family members here. So yeah, there definitely can be people here to help come in and, maybe be taught, transfer techniques to help the patient get in and out of like the shower and out of the car, or to help them with their, their exercises that we're giving them if they're having trouble doing them, for sure.
Yeah. Gotcha. All right. Well, Stacy, just, I guess one more question here. I know that, you work at McLaren Bay Region and West Branch, but are there other locations that McLaren offers outpatient therapy at?
Yeah, there are. We have 3 offices in the Bay City area, and 1 in Midland, and 1 in Pinconning, and then again here in West Branch. And if anybody's, looking for more information on any of those settings, we do have 1, centralized location that's able to answer questions for all of them. And that's in Bay City. And if they wanted to reach them, they would be able to call them at 989-667-6600. Or if they had specific questions about therapy for our clinic here in West Branch, they could reach out directly to us. And our number here is 989-516-5078. And we are always happy to help and answer any questions.
All right, outstanding. And I assume, too, if people would like more information, they can find that online as well?
on the McLaren website, you can get more information. Patients are always welcome, or potential patients are always welcome to stop into the office too, and we can take a minute to show them around or let them look around too.
Oh, very nice, very nice. Well, Stacy Saunders, thank you so very much for being on the Focus Show here today. We greatly appreciate it, and I hope you have a great day.
Thank you, and thank you for your time.
All right, thank you again. That was Stacy Saunders, manager of rehabilitation services at McLaren Bay Region in West Branch. It's going to do it for the Focus program here today. I'll be back to close things out here right after these quick words, as the time is 11:24. Hey, special thanks again to Stacy Saunders, Manager of Rehabilitation Services at McLaren Bay Region in West Branch. Very informative, and we appreciate her taking some valuable time to talk with us here on The Focus Show. All right, it is 11:28 here at WSGW, and before we move on to the Farm Service Show, we have to check in with the markets, and we have Steve Anderson calling in here from Baird and Company. Hey, what's going on there, Steve? Today, what's happening with the markets?
Well, we're getting a little bit of a rebound today, which is kind of a nice thing after yesterday's activity. Right now, the Dow Jones Industrial Average is ahead by 85 points, putting it at 31,187. Volume is 350 million shares. The NASDAQ is ahead by 75, and the volume there is 281 million shares.
Everybody just kind of getting their wits about them after yesterday here.
What's the what?
I said, is everybody getting their wits about them here today after yesterday's big sell-off?
Yeah.
Everyone kind of just, yeah, all right.
Yeah, I think it looks a lot like standing back and taking a big breath.
Yes, probably what some have to do here after yesterday.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, Steve, what is the tip here for today?
Well, when we get into markets like this, people often will be looking for insured or stable investments, and they'll start looking at certificates of deposit, which, although insured, still pay very low interest rates, but at least people know they're not going to lose their money. And then the other thing that people will look at is there are some certificates of deposit where the interest rate or the growth rate that you have is tied to a particular index or basket of stocks even sometimes. So make certain that if you're looking at the non-traditional certificates of deposit, that you understand what they are tied to, what they're using to calculate your interest rate. And there's just a lot more to them than just saying, oh, it's a CD, it's wonderful. It might be.
Right.
Maybe probably will be. But you don't know. So do make certain that you, as with any investment, make certain that you understand what it is, how it works, why it works, and what the potential outcomes may be.
Well, then if people have more questions for you about all that stuff, how can they contact you?
Well, they can call us right here at Baird and Company in Saginaw. The telephone number is 989-790-5724. Or you can find us at our Midland location, 989-839-9035. Or on the web at rwbaird, and that's BAIRD.com. And then you just look for whichever branch you want to look for or whichever rep you're looking for.
All right. Hey, fantastic. Thank you very much there, Steve. Have a good one.
Thanks, Pat. Bye-bye.
All right. Steve Anderson from Baird Company in Saginaw, 11:31, and the Farm Service Show coming right up after these words.